Introduction to web design and development. So this particular concept allows us to understand how the different technologies are used to create a website, or the influence of technology in creating the websites, what is expected of you when you're creating a particular website. So they're just kind of basic concepts, yeah, the foundation of how you can design a particular website. So first we need to understand what is a website and or what is a web page, right? Look at a website as a book and a web page as the many pages, right? So you can always have a website with more than one page. So these pages are created using different languages, right? So in our case, we're going to use HTML, as I've already mentioned. Uh, sites sites can be created also using different themes. In our case, we are going just to use a single editor, that is a very basic website, right? Using our notepad, right? So with a notepad, you can always just create a website or a web page, right? So the anatomy of a website, right, constitutes of different parts, and for a website to be visible, it requires a unique identifier, or rather what we refer to as a unique resource locator. This is a web address, actually. It is the address that you share with people so that they can be able to view your website. So the URL constitutes different parts. As you can see, there's a protocol. A protocol is how the websites communicate, right? A communication between a web client and a web server is based on the protocol. So you need to have a protocol, and that's the first part, right? The hypertext transfer protocol. Then you have the server name that also constitutes different parts. As you can see, there's the World Wide Web, and there's also top level domain, the .co.ke, right? That is the top level domain. So there are quite a number of top level domains that you can associate your website with. So it depends with the country, the organization. So if it's an academic organization, for example, in our country, you're going to have .ac.ke, right? If it is for our country, it's going to be .co.ke, as you can see. Better still, we have the domain name, yeah? Like in our case, it's a learner's coach. That is the domain name, or KCA. That is the domain name, right? Then we can also talk about the different inclusion of the URL, like the path, yeah, suggest where this particular file can be found within the server, yeah, and also the folder that this particular website is stored. So all these are just some kind of anatomy that describes the URL of a website. Then also we need to understand the web components. I've just mentioned the client server, right? So we have the clients and we have the servers. So clients can be software clients, can be hardware clients. What I mean is that a user uses some kind of end devices to be able to access the website. So we can refer to those end user devices as clients. The computers that process these websites or this request from the clients is what we refer to as the servers. So that's just the hardware part. We also have the clients for the software part, like use of browsers, right? So if you use the browsers, like I don't know which one you have, Mozilla, Chrome, we refer to them as client softwares that users use to access websites. Then we have the server softwares that now runs the website. Like if you upload your website to a particular server, the server will run on some software such as Apache. For the Microsoft, we have MIIS, and so on and so forth, right? So that's exactly what I was explaining. So you can have the server side, also you can have the client side, both software and hardware. So as a web developer and designer, you have to factor all these. You have to factor all these. That's your responsibility. You have to know when I'm creating a website, do I create it in a language that can be supported by a particular server, right? Because some of us, we have been in this field for a while, and I can tell you that it's very, very important to understand the server first before you even start developing your website. It's a good practice, right? So you need to know where are you going to place your website first. For the users, they don't mind as long as they can access the website. Additional component, or what you need to understand about the website, is the internet service providers, right? I mean, websites are there to be accessed online, and to be online you need internet. And who provides this internet are the internet service providers. So you have different categories or organizations that provides the internet. So as a developer, also need to factor in which are the reliable providers. You understand? Because you're going to be given the task of creating these websites. So you need to know where am I going to, or which organization is going to provide the reliable internet for my clients, right? The charges, and also all these support, technical support, and so on. So these are very basic but important part of web development. Better still, you need to understand your web hosting organization. Like if you decide to host your website, you need to understand the security of that particular hosting company, for example, the disk space, the kind of equipment that they're using, right? And you also need to benchmark, or rather do some due diligence across these multiple hosting services, because there are those ones that are just there to make money. They'll claim to provide the hosting services, but within 2-3 months they have shut down, and your clients start complaining they can't access the website. So it's very, very important also to factor in these web hosting services. Then also we need to look at the domain names. I think I've already looked at the anatomy of the URL, right? So domains are purchased, and based on the organization's vision and mission. If an organization is KCA, it's a good practice that the domain name resounds, or rather you place it to be the same as the organization name, so that if someone asks the organization to provide the URL or website, it doesn't look different. So that is the main essence. So if you're a developer, try to understand the organization's main mission and vision, and also look at the organization hierarchy, right? So you need to study a lot about the organization that you're developing this website for. That's why when you're developing any kind of software, we talk about the software development life cycle. You need to do some feasibility study, you need to do some analysis, is when now you come to the design, you do the development, you test, and then you roll out the product, right? So these are some of the things that you need to factor as a web developer and designer. So having mentioned about that, you know what a uniform resource locator is. We have looked at the parts. Ideally, why this particular web address is referred to as uniform resource locator is because it is a unique. If you look at, or if you perform some kind of DNS to a particular web address, it's going to show you a unique IP address. So all these websites you see, whatever the user sees is actually some character or some name. But what you should be able to see as a developer, when you're being given the rights to upload your website, you need to know the IP address, the unique IP address, so that you can be testing on your own the reachability of this particular website from the backend. We also have the registrars, which actually performs the same tasks as the hosting companies. In fact, when you host your website, they'll always give you the registration details and the domain details, or I mean registration details and the hosting details, right? So you need to factor in, if you're going to purchase a domain differently and do hosting with a different organization, well and good. But I prefer a situation where you can have a hosting company providing both domain registration and what? A hosting. So that if they charge you, you're given a holistic budget and it helps you in planning, right? So in a nutshell, to create a website, you need a domain name, you need to register it, you need to host it, and you need to have the IP address, right? The IP address is very crucial for you as a developer, because something might happen. It's just things happen, but IP address is going to help you understand where the real problem is. And basically, after you have that, you can always begin creating content, and then you upload your work so that you can be able to view. And of course, you can now do what we refer to as search engine optimization, so that this particular website is visible outside there across the multiple search engines such as Google and so on. Again, we need to understand the principles of good web design, right? This website, you're designing it not for yourself, for the people who are going to visit that particular website. If you look at the KCA website, I'm using it because it's the one that all of us have access to. KCA website, the person who is designing it had the student in mind. And whatever is the website is communicating is basically what that particular organization is providing, right? Clear purpose, courses, education materials, and so on. Also, a good web developer or designer should have a progressive disclosure. What do we mean by this? We don't want you to set up a website and you hide crucial information from the visitor or the user. For instance, if it's a website that allows people to do some transactions or purchases, you have to provide some privacy information, right? Some disclosure information, right? About how the purchases is done, if the product is not good, how they can be returned, if the transaction fail, how they can be compensated, and so on and so forth. If you are making some advertisements on behalf of another organization, also make them understand that this is not ours, but we're just doing it on behalf of this organization. A website should actually be able to display very, very fast. There are different factors to this that enables the display. We are going to look at these, like the images that you're using, the organization of the website itself adds and contributes to it displaying very fast. Statistics shows that many people leave the website if it doesn't display quickly. So if you are client is going to be complaining that they are not getting any feedback from the people who are accessing the website, chances are people are not really visiting that particular website. The website should be browser compatible. Browsers are there to enable users to access the various websites or web pages. So don't just assume that since you have developed and tested your website with Firefox, it might be that the visitors even don't use Firefox, they're using Chrome. So it is your responsibility as a developer to test your website across multiple browsers and see how the appearance looks like. If you test it with Microsoft Edge and all these browsers, have a very intuitive navigation. What we mean by intuitive simply means a well organized or arranged pattern so that there's a nice flow of information. If a visitor visits a particular website, they should understand that this is the home page. From home page I can move to this page and I can go back to this particular page and so on, so that people don't get lost when they are within your website. You see, it takes, if you look at websites that are being developed, you can get lost and even leave that particular website without getting the information that you're looking for. Avoid errors, spelling mistakes. So there are kind of tools that I'm going to show you, or you're going to be informed about, that allows you to remove this particular, not only errors, but also the syntax related issues that might appear within your website. So those are some principles, and of course you're going to be mentioning them. If it's an e-commerce website, ensure that it's secure. Make the website attractive and easy to read. Right? Just have a very nice interface. Also ensure that you factor in the cross boundary or border issues. Don't portray content that is going to not respect other people's culture and so on. So you need to really look at all these. Also ensure that there are no broken links, and once you use these tools, that removes these problems of broken links and so on. You can always eradicate the technical problems. The website also needs to be maintainable, right? Organization of the website, when you separate content from the real structure, it can be very easy to maintain the website. Ideally, if there is a problem in the website, you know how to isolate the issue. That's what you are saying, right? You can always easily separate that. I don't know. Okay, can proceed. And then you have the search engine accessible. So it should be able to, your website should be easily found, right? It should be easily found. If you told me that, hey, I created a website and the name of the website is John Sagimo. So if I just type John Sagimo, it should present within these search engine results, so that at least I can be able to view it. Our purpose of web design ideally is to inform and educate, or what the website does, also to persuade. That is the main purpose of having a website. So we have influences of web design. I talked about technology that you're using as a developer or a designer, and the ones that the target audiences are also using, right? The nature of the content is also another influence. The budget, yeah. And as a developer, you realize that people, they want very nice website, but they don't have the budget. So you need to balance. And of course, the time, right? The amount, type, the amount and type of visuals included. Don't overdo the images, for example, or videos, right? Also, it needs to have very good usability features that we are going to see. Other influences, as we have mentioned, are the browsers, so take note of that, and the softwares also, the operating systems. They can influence how, especially when you are hosting your websites. I've mentioned it's very important to understand the software. A connection speed, very, very important, especially when it's being accessed from a given server. People need to access it very, very fast. Also take note of the end user devices, the screens that they're using, right? So you say that 80% of users are using displays with that kind of pixels, right? So as you create your website, you need to factor that. The content is very, very important, and that is the main engine of a website, the content, right? That's what people are consuming, right? So you need to look at the audience, or rather the visitors, which categories of visitors frequent on a particular website. Very, very important, so that you can adjust how your content looks like, right? For instance, here you can see content for students will be different from contents for staff. So you need to know how to balance that. Use quality content from subject matters experts. What you mean by this is that if you are given a task of creating a website and you're not familiar with the content, you can always reach out to people who understand. Like if it's a technology-based website and you don't understand it, you can always borrow content from these experts, right? Also ensure that your content is reviewed periodically, not by your friends or family, but by people or I can talk about shareholders or people who are affected directly by this particular website. So I've said that non-affiliated people are the best. Have others also proofread your grammar, like of course your friend, yeah, to just tell you that, hey, this chunk of content is misplaced and so on, right? So some economic consideration also when you're designing. These are things that can affect the overall development of a website. So the budget concerns, for instance, for an organization, right? The staff time for creating this particular website, right? Staff time for maintenance. What we mean by this is ideally you have to check whether this is an outsourced website or this is a website that is being created or developed in-house. So if it's developed in-house, also you need to factor the users. If it is the employees, for example, that are using it to populate some data, right? You need to put that into perspective. When you're maintaining this website, you also need to factor in when are you going to do the maintenance. Is it during the weekends, so that you don't affect the time for the other employees? And also, as I mentioned, figure out whether it's in-house development or outsourcing that is good for you. So as you can see, a website has to be or has to have a good design, but the content is very, very important, but the appearance is equally important, right? So I know I have some screenshots here, right? What you can have good content, but if the appearance or other factors are not put into consideration, people might not take note of the good content. So a good content or a good design should be understandable, should be interesting, should be easy to use, should be uniform in look, right? If you have a background color of, let's say, brown, all your pages should have the same background color, just for uniformity. I don't want to come to your home page. You have a very nice background color, but when I go to the other pages, Bouters is red, Contactors is white, and so on. So that is not good. Also, put your visitor into consideration. That's the most important thing. You are doing it for your audience, right? So you need to factor in that. So what you say is what you want. Whatever you say is what you want your visitors to. Also, there are rules and guidelines that we also need to appreciate and put into consideration. That as developers, we have different tastes and preferences. So you will always try out different things. Not everything that you learn is what is going to work outside there, right? So whichever way that you feel is good, use it. But always put the essential practice into consideration. Like for example, if you want your visitor to be at home with your website, let them take control of the website. Let them feel like this is their website. Yeah, when it comes to navigation, ensure that they can do that very, very fast, easily. Right? It boils down to what you have already looked at. Easy to understand content, uniformity, and so on. So we have some general methods of designing a website. We have the ad hoc process. Ad hoc process is actually, like for example, if someone tells you we want a website that visitors are going to register for a particular conference and it should be live by today evening. So you have to use the ad hoc process, right? Do it very, very fast. Yeah. So like you are creating that particular website to be used today. The other one is to go through some well sought out plan or methodical method, which takes time, and that's what we are learning, right? You need to do some thorough planning, do some quality assurance testing and procedures before it actually goes live. It has advantages. In fact, there are pitfalls of ad hoc process, but also we have advantages. Ad hoc, you'll always have those banners under construction, right? Because you are keeping on replacing the content, and also you are going to be using old content most of the time because you don't have time to create fresh content. You are going to be recycling, right? You're also going to be, I think there's a missing outdated design and techniques. You're also going to have errors like broken links. And of course, you're going to have a very confusing website, right? Better placed, you are going to have some kind of spaghetti coding. So you're going to be mixing a lot of, because you're going to be picking one code from a particular website, you patch it there, the other one, you patch it there, right? And even the appearance might not really look good. However, it also has some benefits, because sometimes when you want to do or to have a website displayed very, very fast, it is the best approach, yeah, the ad hoc. So it's good for the website that have short lifespan, for very small, simple websites, right? So it's very, very important to go through the methodological process of creating a website before launching, to avoid problems such as maybe broken links and so on. So when you take time to create a website, you're going to have fewer problems. It's going to be more effective, easy to navigate. Name them. You're going to have more added advantages compared to the ad hoc. Before you start laying down or having the design work of your website, this is what I was mentioning. Consider your organization's mission and vision. It's not just about having the technical skill of creating a website. You need to relate the organization's demands or requirements with the website. Understand the visitor, define your audience. Who are the people meant to access this particular website? Is it the people who are purchasing a particular product? Is it the people who are doing some particular course? Also need to set the goals for this particular website. Have immediate goals, short-term goals, and long-term goals, right? Gather the content, organize some hierarchy of content. That's why it's very important to understand the organization hierarchy, so that you know that this particular function within the organization needs to be placed here and so on. Other additional pre-design work, have some outline or plan for your content. Have some kind of timing, right? Timelines. Sketch your website on the paper first before you start actually creating those particular websites. Categorize your content. Know if you're going to have videos, images, where are they going to be placed? Do you have enough space in it? How will the visitors access them, specifically if they're being downloaded? So these are things that you need to factor in, because you need to give permission to the various files and folders. So usability aspect is very, very crucial, right? So people are the main focus here, right? So people want to consume this particular content, and most people prefer a mixture of content. Have a little bit of text, a little bit of video, a little bit of what? Images, so that at least you give your visitors a wide variety of content. As you can see here, visitors will prefer the right option compared to the left option. Images, right? Make it easy to read. Factors affecting readability: poor eyesight, smaller, older monitors, poor color perception, cocktail party effect. Cocktail party effect is when you're mixing different colors or font colors, for example, within a single web page. First paragraph black, second paragraph red. So those are, how do you use high contrast between text and background? The text need to stand out from the background. Don't use some kind of harmonious colors are good, but if you use blue font and blue background, no one is going to see. Create a lot of white space. White spaces are those spaces surrounding a particular content. Yeah, like if you have an image, the space outside the image or around the image, use large fonts, at least readable fonts, right? Have navigation buttons on the upper left, those arrows, right? Also, you can use distinguishable elements or images, right? Avoid busy graphics. Busy graphics are graphics that doesn't have the right dimensions. Yeah, you just use a very big image for no good reason. And of course, limit page noise. Page noise. Have you ever visited a website and like, now what am I going to see? Is it a video? Is it an image? There are some things scrolling to the left, to the right, up. So you're just taken through a roller coaster within a page, right? Users' memory is very important once they visit a particular website. Create the need of a visitor to come back to the same website to look for information, right? If I happen to visit a website and I quickly get the information through a very systematic manner, I will always come back. Yeah, so you have to incorporate these. Use distinguishable elements, like show whether someone has visited a link, not visited. Yeah, if for example you are directing someone to open a particular book, you can create a book icon. Those are the things that we are saying. Response time is the key, right? If a visitor takes time to open a particular page, right, I think they live forever. 1 second, 10 seconds, more than 10 seconds, they leave, right? That again reminds us of characteristics of a good hosting provider or server. They can always let you down. Accessibility, very, very important to the website. Ensure that navigation is clear and simple. Use clean visual layout with ample white space. Separate the content. Yeah, separate the content with white space. Use descriptive links. Avoid using click here. Just use the like if you want people to access library books, don't say click library books. Click here. Just have library books and you make it a link, so someone will just click on that, right? Provide text equivalents, very, very important. Like for example, if you are having an image, supplement it with some kind of a text, so that if the image is not loaded, we can read. Don't rely alone for the solely on color. You can also use some kind of images or icons. Don't make the screen to flicker. I think that's what you've mentioned. Yeah, very busy or rather shouting or a page. Don't also rely completely on high-tech solutions. As I mentioned, it's very, very important to have the overall understanding of how to create a website. Have basics of HTML, CSS. Don't just start advancing your knowledge from top. Start from down. Understand the real structure of how a website is created before you start using Dreamweavers, before you start using WordPress, right? For the people who are not concerned with creating website, them they just want to have ad hoc process. It's good if they can do that, but you need to understand the basics. So those are accessibility. As you can see, I've added other additional information, right? Proofread the content, very, very important. You can give other web designers, subject matters, non-affiliated people. So look for categories of people who can assist you proofread your work, right? So we're going to look at some tools. I think one of them is that Validator W3. It allows you to detect whether you have broken links, spelling and grammar errors. We also have maintenance. Maintenance is very crucial for our website. So you need to factor in when is the maintenance going to happen? What do you do if something happens to your website? It's not reachable. Where will you back your copies of data? Yeah, especially backup copy. You see, if you are tasked with multiple people's website, this is something that you need to really give a priority. Yeah, you can perform weekly backups. You can also perform monthly backups, right? So that at least you have a copy. Things go wrong sometimes. Also review your site periodically, right? Don't just have the content there, because you might be there and 5 pages are missing. They could have been deleted, maybe someone, so and so on. You see, also if you keep on updating, let's say the themes, they kind of restructure your the layout. So it's always important to review, right? So ideally, I won't really go past this, and in a nutshell, it's very important to factor in the graphic design. You have to design also graphics for your website. Very, very important. Ideally, we are not going to learn how to do Photoshop, but it's very important to have additional information about graphic design. Navigation is very, very important. How you lay out navigation on your website. Organization of your text on the web, very, very important. Linking your web pages, very, very important. Creating content and various information, very, very important. And of course, maintenance also is very, very important. And of course, we have site design plans, which we are going to look at later, right?